What's going on, everybody? As promised, here's Oghren.
Come to talk to old Oghren, have you? Don't know why. Nothing. I'm fine. Just, I got a hornet in my eye is all. Did you want to talk about something? What about? Oh, sure. I'm fine with it. I mean, she was a real firebrand between the sheets, but a bit soft in the skull, you know what I mean? Explains why she left, anyway. Woman was a few columns short of a haul, you know? I mean, she leaves me and flits about with that water-tart hespit. What's she got that I don't? Just the thought of the two of them together, kissing and licking and intertwined on the floor of the deep roads. Yeah, I'm just gonna go back to the tent for a moment. Excuse me. Pull up a drink, Warden. Join me in my sodding hole. Nah, just tired is all. Did you want to talk about something? What about? It's sodding great. At first I was a little queasy with all that air, but there's just so much of it. No one has any idea who you are or what you're doing. And the ale. Oh, who'd have thought? Ale made with grain. Aye, the surface is great. It's like a big, bright world of filth without a ceiling. My kind of place. Hey, let's go find something to kill, huh? All this talk makes my hands twitchy. Just leave me alone, Warden. Seriously. Upset? I don't get upset. I get drunk. Did you want to talk about something? What about? What? Miss Orzammar? Are you mad, in addition to being ugly? They treated me like a puddle fly back there. I'm never going back. All right. Aye, all right then. What you need? What about? You get a sword or an axe, and are told to go out and defend your city. It's the best thing in the world. That is until you try to live in the city you saved. I mean, they train you to kill, teach you to harness your rage at the first noise you hear, then try to set 100 sodding rules about it. Like those provings. Ancestors show their favor through the strongest arm, right? So why so many rules saying how to fight and when you win and not to bloody kill? Killing's what swords are for. You can kill with blunted weapons, Warden. Well, maybe you can't. This makes me cranky. Don't you have any other inane questions? All right. Aye, all right then. What you need? What about? All right. Aye, all right then. You sod. Tell that thing to give it back. That dog! Mangy mongrel. Sodding thing took my pants. But I'll show him. Yeah, I don't need my pants anyway. But the dog doesn't know that. And it will be his sodding downfall. You hear that, Nug Humper? I'm coming for you. Prepare to die. Hey, Warden, you gotta hear this one. This human walks into a tavern, and there's an elf there, and she says... and she says... she says, I don't...
Wow. Come on, man. It's awesome.
What you need? You want to be a berserker? Thought I'd never see the day. You're a monster on the field already, Warden. But your style just doesn't give itself to mad rage. Too much thinking, too much, what you call it, finesse. But if you know someone fit for this type of work, I'll teach him. It'll be nice to have another berserker to grunt at for a change. What the sod is there to know? You get mad, you fly into battle, and things die. It's pretty simple. The hard part is getting in touch with your rage. We all learn to hold that back. It's why we don't kill every duster who looks at us sideways. You need to shut that off. For some people, being in battle is enough. But others have to think about something. Violence, monsters, nobles, your wife, whatever. Especially my wife. Well, for most berserkers it does. Several years ago, I worked with a berserker on one expedition.
Kick him in the nuts with a kickstart.
We had to kick him in the stones before he could get going. Why not? When you fight, you get mad. By the stone, it's a sodding tactic to enrage your enemy so he makes a mistake, right? Berserkers grab that anger and drink it like it's yesterday's ale. Then we turn it against our foes and watch the limbs fly. Well, for most berserkers it does. Several years ago, I worked with a berserker on one expedition. We had to kick him in the stones.
Yeah, that's it for his dialogue. That's all I could work out of him. Funny though.
All right then.
Shale of House Cadash. Is that who I once was? I find this difficult to believe. I am not a dwarf. Or at least, I'm not a dwarf any longer. If I was this Shale of House Cadash, as Caradon said, there must be some evidence of my existence remaining. I must find it. There is another way. What Caradon said, it has allowed me to remember one thing. I believe I know where Cadash Thaig is. Its offer is appreciated. I will mark the location on its map. If we can journey there soon, I am most curious as to what we will find. I have a question for it, if it will indulge me. It chose to side with Caradon and destroy the Anvil of the Void. I agree with its decision, and yet the Paragon Branca was the reason it ventured into the Deep Roads. Why did it choose to defy her? It could not have known for certain that Caradon would be able to assist it with the dwarves. That was quite the risk. I am pleased that it worked as it did. At any rate, I wanted to thank it. It gave Caradon the end he wanted, and I'm pleased to have been a part of it. I will have to think on Caradon's words to me. It was a great deal to absorb, But for now, let us go on. It speaks. Yes, it destroyed the Anvil of the Void. I would not have thought... It could just as easily have defied Caradon, I think. I feel I owe it, enough that I'm willing to remain with it and assist in its crusade against the Darkspawn, unless it wishes me to leave. No doubt. Without me, it would have to carry its inventory on its own. Perhaps we should continue. Its chances of success are small enough without
I think you're right.
dawdling.
In fact, that's what we're going to do. And let's go ahead to this Cadash Thaig and go look up Shayle's history. See if we can't find something. And I guess, even though Shayle is a DLC companion, she can be lost. I mean, I guess you could send her away, and maybe if you take Shayle with you to deal with Caradon and decide to keep the anvil and go the other way with it, then perhaps you can piss Shayle off enough to where she leaves anyway or something. I don't know. Never went that route, but I guess it's possible. So yeah, you know, well, back in the day, let's see, I'm trying to think. I don't remember. Seems like this DLC might have been free now. A lot of DLC was, actually. A lot of things like the Edge that Dagger I started with. There was a ring which gave like +1 to your attributes and stuff. Some little bonus items that I think you used to have to pay, I don't know, maybe $1 for. It probably came with, you know, other sets of DLC or whatever. If you sign into Origins, you can actually download a bit of it for free. Not all of it. No, there's still some of the DLCs you have to pay for, but there were a few things that were free. I think even Shale, I think the Golems of Amber or whatever it's called, that DLC, I believe it was free. If I remember right. Anyway. But of course there was a time where you had to pay for it, and seems like there was. It's funny, you pay for a DLC and lose your follower anyway. Well, I mean, you know, that would be your choice, right? You know, it may have been that the Golems originally were a DLC that came with, like, a limited edition or something, or a special edition, maybe. But you could pay for it on the sign. I guess that's possible. I don't remember. It's been a few years. But anyway, whatever. All right, now here we see some dwarves. Apparently, each time you get an ally, you will wind up in an ambush with those allies. Of course, after we got the mages, that one didn't end so well. I think it was only like 3 mages against about 7 million darkspawn, and yeah, they went down pretty fast. The elves fared all right. Dwarves did okay. I think we lost 1 or 2 here. I don't know if that affects you later. If you lose or save a certain number in these ambushes here. I don't know. I don't usually involve my allies that much at the end of the game, which is where they really come into play, but whatever. Alright, so that's probably actually the last scripted ambush for us in the game now. Unless, you know, some companion quests, you know, some personal quests bring up some new stuff. I think that's pretty much it. I think we've cycled through just about all of it. In our travelings, I've tried to include all of them. I think I have. So I want to go turn this in to Orta before we head down underground.
I've been hoping you'd return to Orzammar. Oh, I have so much to tell you. The other houses repaid their debts to my house, and I had enough money to send an expedition into our old Thaig. We found so many things. I kept some for you. I said I'd repay you, didn't I? I could never fully repay what you've done for me, but this is a start, I hope. Walk well, and may fortune always smile on you, Grey Warden.
Right on. Well, nice to help her out. And that's where the key to the city was. That ring. It's definitely one that I'm using. It's a kind of a crucial part of the build, actually. Alright, but, okay, so we can get to this from the surface or down here, either way, but, this is DLC Thaig, a little extra area. And this isn't just any run-of-the-mill, just like, what was it, Honleith, or that little village, wherever Shale was in the first place, that was that wasn't really a walk in the park. There was some challenges there with all those darkspawn and stuff, and so here it's not a whole lot different. A little easier now because we're a higher level, but still, they're gonna throw a lot of hordes at us. And there'll be some different combinations of enemies too. But one thing I'm looking forward to down here is I think it's called the Dead Thaig Shanker or something like that. I don't remember all the stats on it right offhand, but I remember it being a really good dagger. Alright, so while we're here, you have a lot of this to go through. I don't remember being able to search any of these houses or anything. It's pretty linear, but essentially we're going to go through these mob fights until we finally get to the end and find what Shale's looking for. It's kind of run of the mill, but pretty cool. Apparently a flooded Thaig down here. And I think it's funny, you'll actually see some fish on sticks instead of corpses. So I don't know if the darkspawn are fishing down here. That's the impression that I get. But it's pretty funny. Anyway, you'll see as we walk along here when we come up on these pools.
This is it. Cadash Thaig. Perhaps. It may also be where I was found. These ruins are always overrun by vermin. There may be something noteworthy further in, however.
How would you deal with helping somebody that actually had actual amnesia, clinical amnesia, where they literally just were
Did I live here?
completely cut off from their past? I mean, like, totally, like, they had no anything anywhere. There's been movies made about it and stuff, but that would be trying, to say the least. Yeah, I don't know. Anyway, we get to help out Shale, who's not so bad at heart, even though she's made of stone. Of course, she still has a heart. Okay, while we're down here, and there'll be quite a bit of this, right? Not much more than this, actually, just different kinds of mobs. But I want to talk about different builds. I think, the next video or two, somewhere here real shortly, we're going to go ahead and cover the build as I've made it up to this point. This is, a dex build. There are different options. I've talked a little bit about the different styles of build for a rogue that I'm not going to say they're equally effective. They're a little different. Of course, you're going to have to play them just a little bit different, but you have essentially a cunning build, which relies heavily on a lot of spike damage, on like backstabs and criticals and things, and you have to really have some things in play in your party. And I like to vary my party up a little bit for different reasons, not just for dialogue, not just for the fun aspect of it or whatever, but for different challenges and stuff. And with a cunning rogue, you essentially need Leliana in your party at all times to sing Song of Valor and keep your attack rating up, because you're sinking most of your points into cunning, which is really raising your spike damage, especially if you allot your points properly in your character build. But it doesn't do much for your attack rating, and if you're doing 200 damage a hit, but you're only hitting 1 out of 5 times, you're not really getting anywhere. You know what I mean? So you want to hit often. Now with Leliana in your party, and if you can keep your attack rating up, and put all align all the stars just right, then it's a brutal build. I mean, it's you can do a lot of spike damage. This build is geared more towards hitting everything all the time for less damage. Sometimes a lot less damage, but overall, I don't know. If you hit once for 150 and I hit 5 times for 50, I'm actually doing more, right? In fact, if you hit once for 150 and I hit 3 times for 50, I'm doing the same damage. Now, if you only hit 1 out of 3 times, we're doing the same damage. I mean, they did a test, one guy did one time, and it factored in 100% hit rate, which is, that's asking a lot, especially early game. Later game, maybe not so much, right? Later game, maybe it's theoretically at least almost possible to get something close to 100% hit rate with a very low dex, especially on Nightmare. I'm factoring in that we're playing on Nightmare, so enemies have a lot higher defense, which takes away from your offensive rating. If you've got a mediocre offense and an enemy has a really high defense, you may not hit them at all. If you saw earlier the first couple Revenants we fought, even the one all the way up into Redcliffe, and I was sinking every single point into Dexterity, which is the rogue's attack stat. Alright? And I was missing the Revenant, oh geez, what, 3 out of 4 times, 4 out of 5 times. I mean, it was ridiculous. Alright, but had I been a cunning-based rogue right there, I don't know that I would have hit him even once. I may have done 4 or 5 times more damage had I hit him one time, but crap, you know, if I'm only hitting him 1 out of 5, like I say, if you're doing a lot less damage but you're hitting every time, then you're laying out steady damage. And I like to play like that. I really do. I mean, I love criticals and all that, and I love raising the chance to have criticals, raising my critical damage where I can, but focusing specifically on that and forsaking the ability for critical hits to actually trigger, you know, that's, I don't know. So anyway, it's just different schools of thought, you know, each one plays different. But if you have Liliana in your party and you do things a specific way, then having a cunning-based rogue can be brutally effective. It can, right? But you kind of have to stick to that path. You have to have Liliana around, and you have to do a lot of things a certain way. But that can be effective. With this, the Dex Rogue, you're pretty much self-sustaining. If you've noticed, I've even tanked some mobs where it wasn't that I was taking a crap ton of damage like a sponge. They just couldn't hit me, you know? And so I kind of roll like that. And look, I'm hitting just about every single time. The mobs like this can almost not hit me at all, and I hit them basically 99% of the time. And so I like this. You know, this is good for me. And I can do a really high percentage of my damage just off basic attacks. I throw in, you know, the spinning blades there every once in a while, and then other than that, I just rely on certain things, and I'll discuss that when we go over the build, but there's things like any enemy that's stunned, any enemy that's paralyzed, and any enemy that you're behind, and there's even another perk that you can pick where the radius behind that enemy is widened, so you have a larger area where you can backstab them from. It's basically you can see behind them if you look at the circle on the ground. And when you first start the game, it's a little more narrow, but then when you pick the upgrade, it goes to a complete 180 degree, you know, anything basically over their right shoulder to over their left shoulder, you know, anything behind them whatsoever becomes a backstab. All right. Now, I think some bosses are immune and stuff like that, but for the most part, it's automatic backstabs there. And so I get a lot of criticals. It's just my criticals don't score as high, but they hit like every time. All right. Lower criticals, but they hit all the time instead of higher criticals that only hit sometimes. Right? And this way, it doesn't matter who I have in my party, my character is always pretty much going to act the same. Now, when I do have Liliana around, there are other things from Song of Valor. I believe it's increased mana and stamina regen, and the mana is really good for my mages. Okay, so I'm not going to knock that, having her around anyway, even with this build. She still does her thing. Anyway, all right, so there we go. And then there's kind of a third option, which is a strength rogue. Okay, and I think the preferred weapons for Strength Rogue are a dagger in the offhand to keep up your attack speed. Correct me if I'm wrong on this, but I believe this is how it goes. A dagger in your offhand and like an axe in your main hand. The Veshial would be the first weapon to come to mind because it's essentially the best one-handed axe in the game. Alright, so say the Veshial in the right hand, Rose's Thorn or something in the left hand. Put all your status effect runes in your right, where they actually trigger. In your Veshial, like say a couple Grandmaster Paralyze runes, or Grandmaster rune, and whatever else have you, slow rune, or just whatever you prefer. I like a Paralyze rune and 2 lightning runes, because there's basically no creatures in the game immune to lightning. Some are weak to it, but I don't know any that have resistance or immunities to it. Right? So it's overall probably the most effective element in the game. And that's how I like to roll. And then the left hand, just straight lightning. But having the Paralyze in there, you see it triggers pretty often. The Grandmaster's pretty good about that. I don't know what percentage chance it is. It's probably like 5% chance to trigger. But the Rogue swings pretty fast, especially if you have momentum going. Your attack rate, your attack speed is going to be higher. So it works like that. But if you're running a Strength Rogue, essentially what you do is you trade off unhittability for tankiness. And you can essentially get it to where you can wear Legion of the Dead armor, or whatever you prefer to wear. You can even wear Massive Mail, and you're going to have a large stamina penalty, but if you notice, the only thing I really use my stamina for is my sustained abilities, like momentum and what have you. All right, and so I have one ability that I activate every once in a while, the spinning blades, or whatever that ability is called, and that's about it. So with a strength build, that wouldn't really be much of a factor to me, the stamina thing. My stamina should regen enough to where I can use that one active ability whenever it cools down. It shouldn't be a problem. You know, there's a few seconds of cooldown on it anyway, and so whatever stamina I use from using it, it should be available next time. Not a problem. For those of you trying to play with a bunch of different active abilities, if you like to use, like, I don't know, all the different dual wield abilities and just, you know, like run a chain of them back to back and stuff, and you require a lot of stamina to do so, then I probably wouldn't suggest a strength build. But the cool thing about it is you'll have your attack high. You can sink some points into dexterity, but a lot of your attack rating and damage comes off your strength. It's essentially you're playing like a warrior rogue, in a sense. If you get your strength high enough, you can wear heavier armor so you can take more hits. But I personally really just don't like the trade-off, because the unhit ability, to me, is far more preferable than being able to take some extra hits with the armor. Because even on Nightmare, well, hell, even playing an actual tank, a warrior, you know, who's designed for that, that's sunk just about everything in strength and constitution, even a warrior can have trouble at times, because the enemies can do so much damage. You know, and it's not all the time, but in certain areas where, you know, especially, you know, I don't know, fighting dragons, fighting big mobs, fighting a whole crowd of shrieks or something like that, and you need to be able to take it, right, if you can't avoid getting hit. And I don't really have a problem with that with my Dex Rogue. And I don't believe the damage that you put out as a Strength Rogue is really any different. You know, I could say the only thing that really plays into it is if you just like the look of really heavy armor and you want your rogue to run around like that. There you have it. I mean, that would be, I think, the only reason. Really, the better way to go would be a dual-wielding warrior. I mean, for obvious reasons, right? But you could sink a bunch of points into Dex and sacrifice strength and have lower damage, but have more durability from the armor and whatever stats you might get off certain sets of heavy armor. That might be appealing to you. And so on and so forth. But like I said, it's not much of an option to me. I mean, I don't really take it. But it is there. I've heard of it. There are people doing that. Like I said, I've experimented a whole lot with that build to me because I see more downside than upside. I would say the only hard choice for me is just between Dex and Cunning, and I go with Dex for the survivability aspect of it. I see right here, I don't really see any numbers even coming off my head. Honestly, I don't really think I'm really getting hit much, if at all. Every once in a while. And you can take a hit or two, but it's when somebody's landing every hit on you that you go down in like 2 seconds. And that's yeah, that's the Cunning build to me. Even with Keen Defense, even with I don't know, what is it? Song of Valor, or is it Song of Courage that gives you defense? I don't know. Liliana has one song for one thing and one for another. Valor's probably my favorite. Courage, I think Courage raises your attack stats and critical chance. I think that's what it does. It's like the third ability along that line. And I tend to she only uses that like maybe if you're fighting a boss or something. She might activate that where, you know, you're gonna get hit anyway, so you might as well, you know, kill the damn boss faster. You know, that's kind of how I roll with that. Each to their own. That's my strategy. I wasn't kidding when I said they throw some mobs at you here. This is what it is. It's just wave after wave. Friggin' Darkspawn infested tunnel here. I do have my tactics also set pretty much how I'm going to have them for the game. I assume Wayne will get another tactic slot or two to where she can throw in an extra spell or so. Her mana pool is getting so ridiculous now that I think she's she's going to have some leeway to maybe do a little bit more. I think she's already like in the 400 something range of mana, so she's good, you know, and even the most expensive spells and sustained abilities only cost like 50 or 60. So she can pop those off. And like I say, with Leliana around, and there'll be a time where I'm strongly considering doing the last run, you know, the final in-game run with Leliana. You know, I have to pick that last party member, and you know, I don't know. It's kind of a toss-up between some different characters, but I'm thinking start with the core group: Wynn, Alistair, Leliana, myself. You know, kind of the old standbys, the old faithfuls, the ones that have been with you through the whole deal. But have her in there, and with Leliana singing her Song of Valor and Wynn's mana regeneration through the roof, plus a ridiculous mana pool that she has, and her job is essentially to keep Alistair on his feet, you know, at all costs. And if worse comes to worse, damn, put a force field on him, you know. And then Alistair by that time should be drawing all the hate. He should be taunting and war crying and yelling and screaming and calling people bad names and talking about their moms and whatever it takes to keep the enemies on him all the time. And, okay, he knows I'm talking about him, so he's going to friggin' troll me and lock me in there. So as long as she's doing her job there and has some extra spells to cast to just do her thing, it's a good setup. Anyway, we're gonna cover those tactics. Anyway, they're set. So you see, this is working well in my opinion. I have Shayle here just as well because, you know, this is her spot. This is her hometown here. We're visiting her hood. And, oh, wow, where in the hell do I go? Is that... Oh, wow. Okay, that doesn't even look like something you can walk on. Apparently you can. Alright. But, anyway, that fourth member is kind of interchangeable piece. Another advantage of playing a rogue is that, you pick your own locks and you do all the roguey stuff yourself. And then you have the luxury of, once you pick your tank, to go with either 2 mages, another rogue and a mage, an extra off-tank and a mage, or whatever combination you want. It's a luxury. Another favorite reason to play as a rogue, and though you're a squishier player, you're not going to be necessarily a tank or anything, you can be pretty effective. It's the, so far, and I'm just barely into it, but I'm going to do I'm going to call it a ninja build, because essentially you live in stealth in the way that I've built this thing. I already pretty much know how it's going to be built from the beginning. I've already designed it. I just have to play it out and build it for you guys. But I have the levels 1 through 5, just like I did with my Warrior Reaver. I do have that for you, for anyone that's interested. But I found that the Rogue is by far the easiest, the dual-wielding Rogue, easiest to play in Inquisition, in my opinion, so far, from what I've played. Of course, I'm not really messing with the Mage, and I'm not going to go the Archer route, because that was obviously by far the easiest. It's the one that seems like everyone was going with. And, you know, if you can't beat them, kite them type thing. And yeah, that's not much for me. I want to... But what I heard was everyone was having a problem with the dual-wield rogues early on in the game. Now, of course, later, once you get all your skills and you get your party just right, you can almost do what you want to. But early on in the game, it's that, you know, levels 1 through 10 or 1 through 15 where, you know, everyone sweats bullets. So that's what I'm doing. I'm going to go 1 through 5, then 6 through 10, and show you guys where I allot my points, you know, 5 levels at a time in increments, and maybe give some examples of gameplay, how I've, you know, some challenges that I found, and I'm like, you know, you can beat that by doing this. And there's our Dead Thaig Shanker. Sweet. That is a cunning build dagger, but there is a perk on my skill trees that allows me to replace the strength modifier, which is going to be really low with my character because my strength is just high enough to wear my armor.
What is this?
Right?
This I remember.
Hey, trophy. Sweet.
It has dates and names. This is to honor those who volunteered, those who became golems. And there is my name, Shale of House Cadash. Just as Caradin said. I remember now. I remember, Shale. That was me.
Sweet.
Wonderful to remember being a soft, squishy creature of flesh. Perhaps. I will need to think on these things I have learned. Perhaps I will speak to it of them soon. For now, let us carry on as we have.
Maybe even at some point stop calling me it. Alright, and that maxed out Shale's favor also. Massive strength is where they love you. When you get the massive anything. Massive dexterity, massive cunning, massive constitution. With Wynn, it's massive willpower, massive magic with Morgan. Yada yada. Cool view though. I like what they did with this. They actually, even like the things like the lights hanging from the ceiling stuff. This is cool. This is a different Thaig. Different design. Of course, it's all flooded out. But, all right, we'll go back and give Shale a talking to and see if maybe she hasn't softened her stony heart a little bit and at least stop calling us it, right?
It has occurred to me that I have been... Excuse me. This is not easy. It occurs to me that I have been less than charitable with it since it reanimated me. I have come to realize that it has been good to me. You have been good to me, even though you had no control rod to enforce obedience. I have never had one before, so I don't know how to thank you for being, you know. Exactly so. I followed you expecting to find answers to my questions, but I think I have found something better. Oh, let us not speak of this awkward bonding moment ever again. To the road.
Right on. Can't get too sentimental. So, that's cool, Shale. We can be buds. Definitely buds. Alright, so we make a new friend. Alright, man, that was cool. Anyway, I will include the character build in the Let's Play, as well as along my character build list from other games and stuff. And, hope you guys might get a kick out of that. But, thanks for watching. If you want to subscribe, click that button over my head. For all my videos, click the box on the left. Y'all take care. Bye-bye.